Hey, I'm Ryan Nash from How We Got Here Genealogy. Thanks for coming by and watching today. So, this is my bi-weekly genealogy happy hour, where I'm here to discuss genealogy and answer your questions. So, the way I usually do this is sometimes I'll come in with a topic and we'll be discussing around the specific theme, or other times I might just share what's going on as far as my genealogy research or in the genealogy community as a whole. I have a question and answer session at the end, but feel anytime if you have a question, just drop it in the chat. Love to hear from you. For those of you catching this on the replay, stick around. I'm going to be talking about a few different things today that will help you be able to tell your family story. Because that is my mission here. How We Got Your Genealogy is to help you be able to share your family story by learning how to research it, organize it, and then also giving people opportunity to share theirs. Actually, I want to talk a little bit about a video that I have coming up. It was supposed to be released this morning, but I just ran into some technical difficulties editing it. So they've all been ironed out, so this should be releasing tomorrow morning. It's a really good one that I think you'll enjoy. So hopefully everything's going good in your world. My world's going great. So this week in the world of genealogy, for me, a couple things have been going on. Over at Wikitree, which is, if you don't know, is my favorite website for organizing family tree information. It's great. There's a lot of great tools. It's a very helpful community. It's very collaborative. And their goal is to create a one world tree with everybody connected to it. Right now they have one of their challenges going on. It's one of their 7x7 challenges, and these happen, I believe it's bi-weekly or weekly, where they take an organization or a community, and they want 7 profiles from this other genealogical organization, and the idea is to try to build up their family tree out to 7 connections as far as you can. It's quite a fun little thing. This past week, they've been doing the Society for One Name Studies. The Society for One Place Studies, and working with them. And they had a couple places they have one place studies on. They were looking to grow some of the family trees. I've been working on one particular line where I can, and it's great fun. It's a really good supportive community over there. I really encourage you to go. The other thing is, I was introduced to a product this morning that's not on the market yet, and I can't wait to tell you about it. It's a new way of sharing your family history, in amazing concept. Amazing way that lets you be collaborative with your own family, lets you create a volume of personal family history information. And the great thing is it's evolving. So as you and your family members contribute to it, you can contribute to what's going on in your family's journey as a family right now, today. So that can be part of the family history there for your family in the future. So I can't wait. I was just in discussions with the web developer today that has this, and I'm going to be trying it out myself. And if everything is promised, everything that I've seen so far, it's a game changer, for sure. So if you're here for your first time, just let me know in the chat. You can just say first time. If you've been here before, you know me, I'm pretty friendly. I don't bite. So just, I say it's happy hour. Pull up your favorite beverage. Mine today is water. Good old trusty water. Not the Scottish Gaelic water of life, but just good well water from my house. So I'm on Prince Edward Island, and this is the Prince Edward Island flag for all of you who do not recognize it. It's a small little island on the east coast of Canada. This past week, it's actually been quite cold here. One day it was almost minus 50, just over minus 50 with the wind chill. One day last week, I ventured out in the cold on my day off to go and do an interview. Luckily, it was a nice fire was lit, and I was interviewing a gentleman I've talked to a little bit before on this channel and on my podcast, Mark Bastarash. He's of Acadian descent, and we talked a little bit more about his family history and also the Acadian community in general, and even we got into the questions of sort of what makes up a distinct community, and that's really interesting to understand and talk about from a genealogy and a historic perspective. When do people become a separate people and not just, in this case, not just French people that landed in North America, but they have a distinct society. And I learned a lot. Really great, and I can't wait to share it with you. That's launching. I'm going to say, if everything goes well, when I go and render it tonight, it should be on YouTube at 9 tomorrow morning. That's my goal. So I hope you drop by and you make sure you watch that. And leave a comment on that or any of my videos if you have any questions ever. I love to answer your questions. I love to know what you're thinking, and so I can better serve you and make sure I'm making the videos that you guys want to see. So let's just talk a little bit about Wikitree. I've talked a little bit before about Wikitree. I'm just going to go into just sort of a short presentation here of what Wikitree is and how that looks and how that works, and a couple of things that go on there. So here at Wikitree, it's like I said, it's a community, it's a collaborative community. So I'm gonna just get ready here, and I'm gonna actually share this screen. And I apologize for all you that are watching me struggle with my own technology. I use a great program for streaming. It's really easy, but sometimes my mouse just doesn't want to move the way it does. I need it to. So we're going to share. And we're going to share this Wikitree screen. And there you go. So you should see the Wikitree screen there. And maybe do this. This is everybody on Wikitree. When they start out, they have their own little profile. Tells them a little bit. You get this communication preferences section where you sort of tell about yourself and what you want to do as far as your genealogy goals and stuff are on Wikitree. And they have other things here. I'm just going to touch on a couple things. Now, this always gets me because I'm watching one screen and it's actually working on the other. So the first thing is there's these things which are tags, and this helps with my newsfeed. So I get emails updated about certain subjects, and these are sort of the things that I'm watching. I can add to that anytime I want. This here is these are badges. These are given for certain goals or certain things that you do. For instance, I'm a member of the Project Ireland. I'm a member of the Canada Project as well. So there's a couple things in there. I have quite a few more than this that just aren't showing on this page. I can always click on and see them. And then we get into sort of the biography. Now, this is what everybody has on Wikitree. Every profile would have a biography. And it starts over here. It has your relatives. I have DNA, so it has some information here. And it tells me a few things here. It tells me that I'm 100% matched to Brian Nash because I am him. But it also tells me some other people in my family that have done DNA tests and that I should have a match. Now, this Wikitree doesn't do the matching, but what it does is it shows that people on your family lines, as long as they're legitimate family members, they should have that share roughly that percentage. So that's the expected percentage. So you have biographies, and within these biographies, you have lots of little stickers for different things you can do. Since I lived all over Canada, I actually put the different provinces that I lived in. And then I had a timeline. This is really just for myself. Part of this is I'm just starting to record my own family, my own information from my family history for people to come. So I started just with a basic timeline of the different places I lived and what year I lived there and any significant events. And this is sort of what you see. There's images. This is me as a little boy with my dog at the time. His name was Snoopy. He was really cute. I thought I was pretty cute in that picture. Another one for me in the cold, enjoying a nice hot beverage. And then I have my sources here. It has the DNA sources, and then it has the information that this is entered by me. Memories, I don't have any memories listed. And then there's different comments that people make about you. And then if I have any pending merges with any profiles have pending merges, there are always information at the bottom. Merges are just if it happens that you enter a family member and there's an existing profile and you didn't notice it when you first were through, but you found it later or they found it, you can merge those two profiles so they become one. Because the idea is to the one family tree is to have one entry for every person. This other great thing, this is one of my favorite little things, is they have featured connections. This week's featured connections, they're doing the one place study, the different people from that community that are part of that group, and a few other little things here. So this tells me, this is actually the family that I've been working on, George Wallace's family. I've been working on one line of that. So it tells me that George Wallace himself, I'm 22 degrees from him. What does that mean? It does not mean that I am related to him, but what does mean is that I have am able to make connections through other relatives. Good way to think of this in PEI or in Nova Scotia, Cape Breton, when you're talking to people, often they'll ask you who your father is, and then they'll try to work out, well, your father's brother is married to my cousin's whatever, my cousin's husband's brother, and then that's your connection. So it kind of takes you through. So I'm just going to show you this because it's kind of fun. It's actually, you can do this with anybody that has a Wikitree. So it's really neat. You can check to see how close you're connected to a person. And as you build your tree out more, the more connections you'll find. So if I go to George, he is from Scotland originally, so I expect him to find him on my connected through my Scottish side of the family. Not necessarily. My father's side of the family, I expect to find him through my mother's side of the family, but my father's side of the family is kind of built out and there's more connections on it from on Wikitree, just because there was a couple other people that were working that family tree that have a lot of different connections. So let's just see what it says. I'm 22 degrees, and it's going to take me on the path. So you'll see the path. It starts with George, and it goes his daughter, and then her husband, and then it goes his sister, her son. So as it changes colors, that's each a different family set. So you'll see it says 6 branches away. There's 6 branches that are included. That means 6 different families. The first one has 2 members. Next one has 3 members. Then it has 2 members, 3, 7, and 6. So it goes through, and like I said, this goes through my Scottish side. As I build up my own family tree more, it might be a closer connection. Same as George's gets built out, there might be a closer connection. So what I'm going to go to George now. This is his profile here. This is one of the ones that was part of that one place study that is being done. I worked on his son, George Wallace Jr. So it's great. Somebody's actually uploaded that image. I love it because that wasn't there previously. And then we have his families. Now, because I have an extension installed, I can actually check a couple things up here. I can check my connections to George Jr. And I can also see if he's related. I can check out a couple other things. If I want to see all his ancestors, I can click on this, and it gives me a pedigree tree. I can hide his ancestors, the same as if I want to see his descendants. It will give me a list of his descendants going down. So I'm going to hide the descendants. Oops. I can see my connection to him. I can see if there's a relationship. So let's check to see if there's a relationship. It's much the same as this. So they could not find a relationship. Now, in this case, I could choose to use to see the connection finder and see if I found that to him. But I can also do that from this with this little link here, which is part of one of the extensions I have on Wikitree just to make it easier. So it's going to tell me I'm 21 degrees, so I'm actually closer to him than I am his father. I'm not 1 degree because it was through him that the line ran. Again, as it goes down, it will go, you'll get closer, and as history gets built out or mine gets built out, it's possible in the future it can get very close. It could also get farther away if there's a link in the tree somewhere along here where it's one of the families, but that person maybe gets removed because it had been a wrong person entered. Wikitree is really good. The members we sign, there's different levels of membership. As genealogists, we sign an honor code, and part of that is we want to make sure that we have good source profiles. The harder part is for a certain ages, depending where you are, there's not a lot of records that are out there because there's restrictions by the government. In that case, a personal, having witnessed something or knowing your grandparents, you can put that down. You are a valid source. So the other great thing, I'm just going to go back to George Wallace here, Jr. And like I said, I've been working on some of his family. So I was adding his children, and to George Wallace Jr.'s, I was adding all his children. So we're going to look to see, we have his children here, and we have Frederick Western Wallace. Again, I can look at his ancestors. I can look at his descendants if there's any. And I have his one daughter here. Now, I'm going to show you something really neat. This is because I have an extension on Wikitree. Really makes doing things a lot easier. So I want to find out if I have any more information on Frederick Western Wallace. I'm going to use at the top of my bar here, you're going to see a little thing. Just 1 second. I'm going to get rid of that so you can see it. You'll see there's like a number 1 up there. And if I click on that the number 1 there, this is it's called the sourcer extension. So I'm going to look for information. I'm going to look for sources on Frederick Western Wallace. So I'm going to go search on family search. And the reason it's always my first one I go to unless I specifically am looking on one that's better. But the other pay ones, there's some of the pay ones, you won't find the information. Scotland's People, it's really good. It will give you you won't be able to see the record, but it will give you all the details if you need to. So I'm going to click here on there, and I'm going to search for family trees. Is a good place where I can search specific collections. But I'm looking for sources, and I know I've pretty much cleaned them out, but we're going to kind of work down, and we're going to see what we have and make sure that the family's intact and see if there's any more people I can add. So I have him and I have his daughter. Now this one here is a different Frederick Western Wallace. I'm going to ignore him. This looks like the correct one. So let's look at him, and we're going to click on him. And you can choose any one of these. I'm just going to click on sources because that's where I'm eventually going to go anyways. Opens up the page. If you've used Family Search before, you're very familiar with it. So I'm just going to go to details, and I'm just going to look for what children he has. So it says he has the $1. So let's check that $1 out and see what I have on her. She died in 1979, so there might not be sourced information on her children yet, because they might be in that range, because she is just barely in that range as far as birth records and stuff. Yeah, so there's no children listed. So let's go back. We're going to go back to her dad. And I'm going to go back to his dad. And we're going to follow another route and see what we can find. So we're going to go to George Wallace. And we're going to go to click on him. And I'm just going to see what I have as far as children here. So we're going to go up 1 level because it's not Frederick that we're looking at anymore. So he's the son, George Wallace Jr. Really easy to navigate here. And we're going to see all the children that I have listed. He has 2 wives, and he has these children. So next one, we have Robert Davidson Wallace, Elizabeth Wallace, and Alan Bruce Wallace. So we're not getting much luck finding the Frederick. We sort of done that as far as we can. We're going to go to Robert Davidson Wallace. We're going to see what we have here. We have, he's the husband. There's no children listed. So let's see if we can find a source for him having children. We do have a wife there. So let's check. We're going to go up to our sourcer, and we're going to search Family Search. And it's taking this information here, and it's putting it in a search. So as this loads, and again, if you have any questions, just drop them in the chat there. So as this loads, we got Robert Davidson Wallace. We have, this is the right one. We're going to click on him. So I have no children listed for him. Let's see if this lists any children for him. So it says no children. Okay. Let's see what we have on his wife, May Reynolds. So I'm going to go back to here, I'm going to go to his wife because that's the other way I can build out George Wallace's. So again, we're building out connections, not family trees specifically. So we're going to go to Gladys May Reynolds Wallace. So we have her, the one wife, no children. She's the sister of Herbert Kenneth Wallace and daughter of Herbert Highland Reynolds. So let's look at her father. Let's see if he has any other children. So I have her enter, and I have the other son. So right now it says he's father to Gladys and Herbert Kenneth. Let's see what Family Search has to say. And you'll see up here, this 23, that's the connections. Again, it's because of an extension I have in that just makes a couple of these navigation things a little simpler. So let's go search for him. So we have Herbert Robert Reynolds, Herbert Highland Robert Reynolds. These look like they're the same, but there's two different records, and there's a different one there. So let's see what we can find out. And now I'm going to tell you, you never trust other people's family trees necessarily as a valid source. You want to check that they have sources. So I'm going to look at this one here. It says he's got one children. So this one here, yeah, her name's May, now Mary. So, and it's just got that one. This one here has a different child, Lord Naismith Reynolds. Lauren Naismith Reynolds. So let's look at that. These two both have that, and this one here. So it's possible these are. So that's taken from record. He's father of the groom. So let's check this here. Okay. So yeah, it tells me some information. So let's go to Herbert Robert Reynolds. And actually, Lauren Naismith is who we don't have. And we're going to see if we can add Lauren. So what does this tell me about Lauren? There we go. It tells me his father. So this is a marriage record. Tells me his wife, Bessie Sparrow, and the parents. So these parents are the two parents that are part of that family. So we're going to look at adding Lauren. So let's go to and I'm going to add them. But let's see what we have for sources. Do we have a birth? We have a baptism, and we have a birth record, it looks like. So let's see what this is here. So we're going to open this first record, and this gives me the details. And now this is where you're looking for sources. So this is vital statistics. It's an Ontario birth and baptism. So this is telling me the information here. It looks like it's a birth because that's the event type. So we want this information. We're going to enter this into our Wikitree for this person. So how we do, we back to Herbert, his father, and we're going to say father of, and there's add child. It says create a new profile or connect an existing one or remove one of the existing children. What we're going to do is we're going to create a new profile. Now, this is great because if there is a profile that already exists, it will find them. So we got Lauren, and we have Naismith and Reynolds, and now his birth date. We have that on here. So let's save ourselves some time. Good old copy and paste. We know that's a certain date, and let's see where it says. It's saying the birthplace is Toronto, York, Ontario. Again, I'm going to copy and paste, and that's a certain date. Now, sometimes your place names will give you different things, so we know this was in 1903, so this is how Toronto was listed then. If this was a place I regularly use, you have an option for my places, which is kind of neat. I really haven't used it. That's something with an extension. Let's look for death date now. We're going to go back to Lorne. I'm going to close these two up here because I'm not using those tabs. I'm going to go back to Lorne, and I'm going to see if we have a death date. So it looks like there is an entry for him here. And I'm going to go to this record and just see when his death date is listed. So his death date is 14th of October 1929 in York, Ontario. So we're going to enter his death date. We know it's certain because we have the record. And we know it's York, Ontario. And we're going to go with that. And we're going to go continue. It fills out that he's male. I believe this is because one of the extensions I have, it guesses on the name. Always double check this, especially when you're dealing with names that could be either gender, such as Leslie, Lori, Jean. So it's bringing up two possible matches. So this one guy was born July 13th, 1903 in Chelsea, Quebec. Well, that's not the guy I'm looking for. He was born in November, and he was born in Toronto, right? So we know that's not him. This other person here doesn't give a lot of dates. It's about 1902. I can check here, and it doesn't have his parents or anything. It has his spouse, so we're going to assume it's not that person. If it was one of these, we can actually choose. There should be an option to set this person as that. But we're going to say none of these is a match. This is his mother, so we're going to hit continue. Now it's going to ask for sources. The interesting thing here is because I do have sources, but the way I like to format, I'm just going to put to be added because I'm going to go in and add them right away. If I was just doing this quickly and just getting a record in form without having that, I'd probably take the information from that first source and just post it in there. So this does a couple neat things. I really like. So it kind of has a default biography and has this to be added. We're gonna just get rid of that because we already have that. Now, because another extension I have in was called the Quickie B. I can actually do this auto bio. This is kind of nice. It just fills out things a little. If I had a wedding in there, it would tell me all about that. So it fills out what it knows, right? It tells me who his parents were, lists the other siblings, and when he died. Now, I still don't have any sources in there, but I have them up here. I'm going to use this great extension that I told you about earlier, the Sorcerer extension. So I'm going to use the Sorcerer extension, and I'm going to do something different with it. It's on this record, so it tells me I have a couple options. I can build a narrative. I can build an inline citation, a narrative with citation, or build a source citation. I'm going to show you the three different ones. The one we'll wind up using is the inline citation. So because I got the biography already to write it, but I can click on that. It copied it and put it into my clipboard on my computer. So to add a citation, there's a couple ways to do it. With this one here, it will set up everything. Normally, I would click where I want. I can just hit this up here. There's a little button for citation. It should be a C. I would click on that. There it is. And I would put my citation in. But I have this already done. And when I do this, what it does is if I press the C, you'll see it puts these little codes. Now, those are the little codes for the markup language, which just so it interprets it and knows what's going on. They won't show up in his actual profile when I look at it like that. I like doing inline citations. Basically, they are like footnotes or bibliography. So I have that one already pasted there. It does a really nice job of detailing the information. Again, it has the referencing because say to let them know this is a reference. Tells me specifically its birth. Gives me it's from the Ontario births and baptisms, and it gives basically the text of the information down there. That's really great, nice little record. So we have that. Now I'm going to work. I'm going to show you a couple of the other ones because we'll have an opportunity to use those. So we're going to go back to his birth record. We're done with. So I showed you how to do this straight inline citation. It's really simple. So we're going to look at one of his other records here. So we went up here, and we have that he is in the census of 1911. So I'm going to go to this record. Now this record, because I didn't have the information there, obviously didn't show up when I did my autobiography. So I'm going to do a narrative citation, inline citation. And so the same thing, and with this, you have to be on the actual record. So I'm going to build a narrative with citation. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to go back to him on here. I'm just going to close these out so I'm not using them. And where I like to put that is usually once I have the children up, I start putting the other records in. So I'm going to use this narrative citation. So this writes basically a sentence about it and then puts a citation. So if I do that, it just tells me in the 1911 census, Lauren was listed as single son of Herbert R. Reynolds in Toronto, York, Ontario. And then it does a reference, the same, similar to up there. The great thing about this, like I said, this creates a footnote type notation. So I'm going to show you what it looks like by just doing this preview. So you see here, it's kind of nice. And then if I click on these, it gives me citation. Or if I go down to my sources, it has them there. They look a little different on the actual save page. When you look at sources, you just have to click on something. They show you the link to the inline sources there. So we're going to go back to edit this. So we added the next record that he was in 1911. He was in the census. So we're going to go from there. We're going to go back to his records on here. I'm going to close the census one. Actually, I can do one more thing with the census. I can build what's called a, when I'm here, if you look on it, I have an option to build a household table. I'm going to build the household table, and I'm going to add that and see what it says. And this here, I'm going to kind of show you what it looks like. So this will update it. This gives all the people that were listed in the house on the census. So that's kind of neat thing to do when you have a census. If there's other information, it will give you that there. Fill everything in that it knows. So I'm going to leave that there. I'm going to go back to my editing. It did all the nice formatting to make it look like that little table up there. So I'm done with that. I'm going to go here, still right before his death. I'm going to be looking for some more records. So I still have the death record over here, which we'll get back to later. We're just going to follow this. Using the sourcer really makes it easy. especially if you're not used to doing sources and citations, it does all that for you, and it puts it in a nice little biography. So we have two records here. They look like they're probably the same. 1926, yeah, it's the marriage. So let's see what it does. We're going to bring this up. And we have the marriage record. So we have this, the one that we first looked at when we first found Lauren. So we have Herbert Robert Reynolds, May Naismith, Bessie Sparrow is his spouse, and then his spouse's parents. So we're going to take this and we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to show you this. I'm just going to show you what a source citation looks like, but we're actually going to go back and do the another narrative citation. So a source citation is just basically that part that was in the reference tags. When you use this, is some people don't like doing the inline ones. They just like listing all their sources down there. I like the inline ones because I can link where I got the specific information. This is really good, especially when I'm working with people. Maybe I don't have their birth record, but I know when they were born, and I know their parents' name, and where I get that might be from a death certificate. I might get their parents' names from a marriage certificate. I can use the same inline sources again without having to retype them, and I can sort of make it so it's easy to see where I have, instead of just, well, these are all the places I got the records. This is where I got the specific information from. So we're going to go and we're going to do a narrative citation for this. And we're simply going to paste this down here. This gives me a lot of information. Some of it's really good, and I'm going to use as I continue, because I'm going to be, after I'm putting Lauren, I'm going to do his wife, and we're going to do that quickly. I'm just going to do the basics of adding the wife to show you when you add a spouse, there's a couple little things you do. So we have that now, and now the only thing I believe left is there was no other records. Often, sometimes there'll be, if they have any children that were born, looks like he died shortly after they were married, 3 years. So there are no children born, at least that there's not a record of. But we do have his death registration. There's also sometimes in here, if they're on they have a find a grave. In this case, it doesn't have one, but you'll see there'll be a link there. And it's similar. I can build the citation from find a graves. So again, I open the record because you have to be on the record to get the citation. It's the same one I had back here. So on his death registration, so it's going to take us the information. We're going to build the citation, and we're going to build a narrative with citation. And we're going to go back to Lauren, and there's just his death record done. We have that all done, so I'm going to hit save. Now, when you save it, you have to put a reason. In this case, I'm just was adding sources. So I'm going to hit save and commit changes. I could also save it as a draft if I'm working on it. And it does save drafts automatically. That way, somebody else starts in here, they can't work on it while it's in draft mode. It keeps it in draft mode for 30 minutes from when you first open it. Because if I just sat here and I was done and they didn't save it, well, there might be somebody else that's working on it, and there has to be sort of a time limit when it does it. So I'm going to save and commit changes, and this is what it looks like. So we got a biography here. We have his family chart from the census. We have when he was married, his wife's name, and we have it wasn't him, it was his son that died on October 14th. So I made a mistake there. There was no death record for him. It was a son. So let's go back. We need to change something. And this is, so right now, then we don't have a date of death. So we're going to remove that, and we're going to hit about or uncertain. And then we're going to hit save. And in this case, what I'm doing is I'm actually bio improvement, I can say. You can put something there specifically, like making correction. Well, you can put how much detail you want there. Since this wasn't an existing record and it's the first time it's being worked on, I don't really feel I need to put a big explanation. But if I had been working on this record, maybe I'd found that through looking, I would make a note that way. If the manager of the profile or somebody else who was working on this profile went to look at it, and they're wondering why we took away their death, there would be an explanation there. So we're going to change that. We're going to his biography. So we have a couple things here then. Two things we can do. We have, actually we need to get rid of that sentence too. There we go. We're going to go to the edit, and we're going to do that, and I'm going to get rid of this here. Oops. And we're going to, again, this is just changes from new source or bioimprove. I can call this one, I call it a typo if I want it. Again, where it's the first time this is an active record, I think, you don't need to put as much detail, but if you were doing something correcting another record, it's definitely a good idea. The other thing you can do too is leave a comment as well. So sometimes I'll leave a comment if I've found some specific things on an existing record, especially if I make what significant changes. You want to sort of let the person know why you made it. So we have Herbert here, his father, we have his mother, and we have all his siblings. Then we can add spouse and children. So we have those two things we can add that we now have information from. So we are going to add his wife, Bessie Sparrow. So we're going to click on Add Spouse, and we're going to create a new profile. And what we're going to do is, we know a little bit of information. I know that her name is Bessie. Now this is really important. Whenever you're entering a woman, we always put their name at birth. Every profile in Wikitree has a unique identity. It goes by their surname at birth and then a number, basically a sequential number. So if it was Smith, it would be Smith dash whatever. You'll see up there at the top, it says Reynolds 27561 because that's Lauren's number. So he's the 27,561st Reynolds. Now, so her name was Sparrow. We're going to add that there. And we don't have her birth date. So what we're going to do is we're now going to go to Lauren here. I could search for her on the family search site, but since I already have her husband open here, I'm going to quickly go on Bessie. I'm going to click on Bessie Sparrow, and we're going to go to her. Now let's see what information it has on Bessie. It has a birth date of July 25th, 1901, and a death date. So I'm going to take that as her birth date, and I'm going to put that in there. And I'm going to take her death date and put that in there. And I'm going to be looking for now the places that she was born and the place that she was died. These again are both certain, so I'm going to put certain. And we're going to go to find the places. So we're going to look at the sources here and see what we have. So we have her marriage. And then we have a deaf entry. So we're going to look for deaf entry for a son, and this is a legacy NFS source. So I'm not sure what that is. So let's see. This is a government record. Okay, so this looks like this is a. I'm assuming it's it's a government record of birth. So it's something they probably had updated at one point. They don't have a web link to the record. That's unfortunate. So it's not going to be as easy to get this information and put in here. Let's see what else we can find. So it gives all the information here. Okay, so we're going to create our own probably source for this. There's no citation for her death. Let's see if there's something in the about. So it tells me she was buried and she's buried at Park Lawn Cemetery in Toronto, Ontario. Okay, so that's interesting for me to know. I can go to Find a Grave or a Billion Graves. So we're going to go to Find a Grave. And we're going to look for Betsy Sparrow. And so we have some information here. So the year she died was 1998. And the cemetery location, we have that actually. From here, it tells us it's Park Lawn Cemetery in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. So let's see if that works. Okay, so we're just going to put Toronto. And we're going to search. So there's no record there. So we don't have a memorial, but we do have that information. Actually, let's go back. We're going to refine it a little. I'm going to try this one more. We're going to try Park Lawn. Parkland. No matching. Okay. So we're not finding her there. Well, we have this little bit of information. And let's see if it tells us this life history was computer entering is based on the information on the details to change it at data on details. Okay. Let's go back to her. We're going to see about her birth. What does this say she was born? It says she was born in Toronto, Ontario. So we're going to enter that. And then she died. Now this is really good. It picks up the date. It doesn't show me the other one first. As you notice, there was two different ones. I'm going to hit continue. And we're going to see if this is one of these people. We have, no, we don't. It does not look like it's either of these people because they were, one was born in Ireland, one was born in England. We're going to go, none of these is a match. Marriage date. We know we have a marriage date because we have a marriage record because we found it when we found her husband. Oops. So we're going to go to sources, and we're going to get her marriage information. We're going to open this because we want to be on the record. And we have the date there. We're going to put certain, and we know it's Toronto, Ontario. And we're going to hit continue because I don't have a marriage end date. We're going to, again, do to be added only because we are actually going in there right now and adding it. So we're going to proceed to create a new profile. Now, so we have her in here. We're going to start entering her information. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to get rid of this to be added because we're going to add them. And we're going to go and we're going to do the auto bio. You're going to notice something a little different here with the auto bio. It's not going to have information on our parents because we haven't entered anything yet. So it's going to have information on her. Now, what I could do and what I have done times is enter all the information, the records for the people, and then I go back and I create the bio. So then it puts everything nice and neat in there. But I just want to show you this quickly. So we got this record again. We're going to take this. We're going to build we just need an inline source on this because it already has the information, the little paragraph that it will write about her getting married. So we'll put that reference in there, and we're going to see what other information we have on Bessie. And the next thing we have is the record of her son's death. So we're going to take that. We're going to take that, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to build an inline source. We're going to do narrative because the information already isn't there. And now we have this record of birth. So this was basically, it looks like an adjustment that was made to the record of birth. So let's see if we click on that. So there's no record. So it describes it. There's no way of taking the source. So we're going to see if this will let me do anything. Will it give me the option? No, it only gives me option edit, the one that's existing in there. These are actually options for setting it. So I'm going to have to create my own source for this. So I'm going to take the information that we would need. So this is a government record of birth. And I'm going to take this and we're going to go here. I'm actually kind of glad I came across this. Now we're going to enter this up here about her birth. And we're going to, remember I said you would just press that C, and then I'm going to copy that information there. I can do a couple little things like to make this highlight in there. I can make this bold, and we're done. So we're going to be adding the source, and we're going to full save and commit. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to quickly add their son if I can find a birth record. Because we have the death record, so let's add the birth record for their son if we can find it. Because I want to show you one more thing. When you do go to add a child, what it does. So it has Bruce Reynolds here, 1929 to 1929. There's one source. Okay. So we're going to go to sources. It has the one source there. It has the information. And we're going to add his record. So very similar to how we added any other record, we're going to add child. Now, actually, I prefer to put the child under her husband's name. And this just saves it. It doesn't really matter. It just makes it easier because I do this. It will already have the right surname in there. So we know this is Bruce. And do we have any middle names or anything in there? No. It has the date of birth and that he was born in Toronto. So we can put that in there. And this is an example I'm going to show you when I do this one, how I use this for entering the citation for both his birth and death using that same one record. So now we have to put his death date in there is 14th of October 1929. And so if you have any questions, you feel free to ask them. I'm going to end once I do this. I'll keep it open for a minute for our last call and quick question and answers. And in fact, let's get on that right now. As you'll see too on the banner, on March 17th, I'm going to be doing a 24-hour live stream where I'm raising money for Parkinson's. There'll be a link in the description of this video here so you can find the information about the fundraiser. It's going across your screen right now. I do want to ask you to come and join me and donate if you can. It's for a good cause. I have Parkinson's myself. I was diagnosed in 2014, and the Michael J. Fox Foundation does a lot in research. They developing a lot of new technology, new medicines. They actually have a test before Parkinson's wasn't a thing really, that there was a specific test that said you had it. Basically, they diagnose it by ruling out other possible causes, prescribing you the Parkinson's medication and seeing how you react. If it's effective, then there's the assumption you have Parkinson's. They actually now have this new brain scan. It's kind of rare. I think I was the sixth or seventh person in Atlantic Canada to have it done. I had it done this past year. It's a different type of CAT scan where they actually map the pathways of the dopamine in your brain. So it can tell you if it looks like it's actual Parkinson's. Because now there's so many other things that they've added to the Parkinson's spectrum, but it's the first real, I think, reliable test that they have that they can say that's Parkinson's. So we're going to enter here. His death location was also in Toronto, and this will be York because it's in 1929. We know it's certain. Did I put him certain there? Yes. So we're going to, like I said, we're going to do our last call now. So this is, as I get ready for this, invite you to come with your questions as we get to the end. Let me see here.
Let's call!
And we're going to hit 300.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time I need to announce it's last call at the bar.
Oh. Let's call!
So we're going to just go and we're going to go to proceed and we're going to add this record here and proceed to create new profile. I missed it there. There was a spot, it comes automatically ticked. That's what I was hoping to show you. Sorry, I missed it because I was talking about other things where it asks me if it want to confirm that it was a child of Lawrence. So we have him here. We have this basic biography. It starts with, we're going to get rid of that. We're going to use the mini bio. And then I'm going to show you how to do that inline source that we use the same source for two things. But without having to retype it. So let's do the mini bile first, the auto bile. So I'm going to take, and I'm going to put the record that I have here for his death, and I'm going to create my inline citation. And I'm going to go here, and I'm going to put aged because I know it was actually 2 months. I'm going to add this here, my inline citation, but I'm going to do one little thing here. I'm going to name the name of this reference. So when I'm naming them, I usually name them significant, something that would tell me what it is. So this is his death registration, and you hit the name, you put it in quotes. So you put, sorry, I'm supposed to type the word name there. So ref name equals quotes, and you have this closed bracket here. And now I'm going to take this, since this is also the record that I'm using to confirm his birth, because it has his birth date on there. Death records usually do, and sometimes, depending if the person that's filling it out knew that they might not have that information. It was really interesting. I actually came across one relative. It didn't have his birth date, but it had how many years, how many months, and how many days he was alive. Really easy. I just Googled it to count how many days before that was. I used just a Google app, and I could find out what his birth date was. I found it kind of interesting that he kept track of his life that way, or somebody did. So I'm going to use that same thing, the reference name. Do you see this kind of turned gray? That's because there's always, if you go back here, you'll see the references within this straight line. If you ever did any markup stuff like HTML, it's just how you close off the code. So what I'm doing here is, all I have to do is, before I put this bracket here, I just have to put / and that should all be good. So all I was doing was adding sources. And you see, I didn't have to type all this down here. I'm going to do full save and commit. And notice I have, it just tells me that's footnote 1, and there's only one source. Oh, I still left that to be added in there. So we're going to get that up just to make it look pretty, because we don't need to add that. Now, there's other things that you can add. You can add categories and different things, but these are often just things you want to use to create it up. So we're not going to do that today, but it's really simple. So as you see, we were able to add a couple people very quickly, and help contribute to my my points in getting more people connected to the biography, for the to the profiles for the 7 connections, and we're going to just, I didn't categorize this, I shouldn't have been sorry. So it's saved. So that's it. So is there any questions about this or anything else, anything you want to know? Anybody in the chat have any questions about finding your own family research? I see I was frozen there for a second. So if you have, does anybody have any questions, anything they'd like to know about how to get information? I made it look really easy to get those sources because they were there. So I just want to thank you for dropping by, and catch me in 2 weeks here. And if you're watching us on the replay, you can catch any one of my videos. I'll be linking one right there.